Factsverse presents 10 Millionaires Who Do Weird Things. Number 1. Tony Tautoni. Tony was born in Iran, but his family fled the area after the Islamic Revolution in 1979. For years, he lived in Argentina before moving to the United States. When he arrived in the States, he started his own business, and the strange thing is that nobody really knows what he does. There are many people who think that he earned his fortune through criminal activities. However, that has never been proven. He has a very frivolous lifestyle. He has a ton of money, a fleet of expensive cars, and many girlfriends. If you look at his social media feed, you'd know that all he does is party. He travels in his own private helicopter. He gives his girlfriends expensive gifts, and he literally throws money around to whoever is willing to catch it. Rather than doing something good with his money, he is literally throwing it away. Number 2. Yuri Milner. Most people believe that there could be life on other planets. However, they're not going to spend their life and their money to try and find it. That's not the case, though, with Yuri Milner. He is worth $2.8 billion, and in 2014 he announced that he would be spending $100 million to find proof of alien civilizations. He has a partner in his venture, the British physicist Stephen Hawking. They met back in 1987, which is when they started talking about this project. The first phase is intended for 10 years, and everyone can participate, whether you're an astronomer or a scientist. They plan to use radio telescopes to search for signals from alien civilizations in 3 areas: the nearest million stars, the Milky Way, and 100 random galaxies. This wasn't the only crazy project that he's planning to spend his money on either. In 2016, he announced that he would be spending another $100 million to build a tiny interstellar spacecraft to reach Alpha Centauri in 20 years. According to astronomers, there could be a planet similar to Earth revolving around one of the Alpha Centauri stars, and it could actually have life living on it. This is a lot of money to spend on something that you don't even know exists. Number 3. Richard Branson. Richard Branson has a fortune worth over $5.4 billion, and he's famous for his outrageous behavior. In 2013, he worked as a flight attendant on an Air Asia flight. To really look the part, he wore the company-issued bright red uniform with a skirt. He even shaved his legs and put on red lipstick. He worked for a total of 6 hours on a flight from Australia to Malaysia. During the flight, he served drinks and food, and he even made announcements regarding technical information about the flight. He didn't do this because he wanted to. He actually lost a bet to a businessman named Tony Fernandez. The two men bet on whose team would win the 2010 Formula One Grand Prix in Abu Dhabi, and Branson's team lost. This wasn't the first time that the billionaire wore a dress, though. He showed up at the opening of a bridal shop wearing a dress. There was no reason for that one. He just wanted to stand out. He also rode a tank through Times Square. He did this to help launch a soda. However, it was never released. He calls it his favorite fail. This just goes to show you that the rich do get bored, and they'll do just about anything to amuse themselves. Number 4. Ingvar Kamprad. Ingvar Kamprad is the founder of IKEA, and he's famous for being cheap. He is now 90 years old, and he says that throwing money around at his age is stupid. He does several things to prove that he really believes this, too. When he travels, it's only coach. When he's getting around on land, he's known for using public transportation. To get a discount, he uses his pension certificate. In 2008, he claimed that he had an outstanding bill in the Netherlands that was over 10 years old. Because he had to pay this bill, he had to remove haircuts from his budget. When he does get a haircut, he likes to have it done in developing countries like Vietnam because it costs less. In 2016, during a documentary for Swedish television, he admitted that he buys his clothes at secondhand stores and in flea markets. He says everything he does to save money sets a good example for other people who have money. Unfortunately, most of those people aren't following his lead, and he is scrimping and saving for nothing. Number 5. Clive Palmer. Most people know that dinosaurs went extinct millions and millions of years ago. Even though this has been proven time and time again, an Australian carbon magnate named Clive Palmer wants to create a Jurassic Park near Brisbane with living dinosaurs and vegetation from that period. To make his dream a reality, he plans to use gene engineering and cloning. He shared his ideas with scientists, however, they're not optimistic that his vision can become a reality. There is no dinosaur DNA anywhere, and the chances of finding something for cloning are, well, practically none. He understands that his vision is a long shot, but he's not given up. Clearly, he hasn't paid attention to the Jurassic Park movies. If he did, he would not risk such a dangerous project. While he waits for someone to find actual dinosaur DNA, he's working on a more realistic project. He's hoping to build a Jurassic Park with mechanical dinosaurs rather than real ones. His other hobby is reconstructing the Titanic. He has spent an enormous amount of money in the project and plans to launch an exact copy of the ship by 2018. Number 6. Nicholas Berggruen. Up until recently, Nicholas Berggruen, a man who is worth $2 billion, lived like other rich people. He bought expensive homes, fancy cars, clothes, jewelry, and other things that rich people like to spend their money on. When he turned 45 years old, though, he changed his view on life drastically. He claimed that material things no longer gave him pleasure, and he wanted to spend his time working on himself spiritually. He said that he wanted to explore the world. He wanted to spend his time seeing other nations and cultures and people. After he sold all of his property and other expensive items, he started traveling around the world. He lives in small hotels that are far from being five-star resorts. He eats in small cafes, and he says that he enjoys his life more now. Since he doesn't have a permanent place to live, he's considered, believe it or not, to be a hobo. He works remotely and he never shows up at the office anymore. He claims to be a freedom-loving person. He says that having too many material things around him ties him to one place, which he does not want. He would rather be free, travel, and find out who he is spiritually and as an individual. Number 7. Paul Allen. Paul Allen is a billionaire, and he's also one of the co-founders of Microsoft. According to Forbes, in 2012, he was worth $15 billion. He's always been passionate about computers, space exploration, science, and galaxy investigation. When he became rich, he didn't forget about his passions, and he started donating money to the search for alien civilizations. He even invested over $13 million to create a huge system of super-powered telescopes that could help him find extraterrestrial life. He believes by the year 2025 there will be solid evidence that there was and maybe even still is life on Mars and other planets. This is an awful lot of money to spend on something that could be all for nothing. If there turns out to be no other life other than us, Paul and a few other billionaires will be very disappointed and pretty upset for spending so much money on the cause. Number 8. Leona Helmsley. Leona Helmsley is also known as the Queen of Mean. Unlike other billionaires on our list, she has no problem spending her fortune on herself. However, when it came to sharing with her family, she absolutely refused. The only one that she would spend any money on was her Maltese dog. When she passed away, the dog inherited $12 million, and 2 of her grandchildren were left with only $5 million. Her other 2 grandchildren were left nothing at all. After her death, the family took the dog's inheritance to court, and they were able to get $10 million of that money. In court, the family claimed that Leona was out of her mind when she wrote her will. Leaving more money to her dog than anyone else in her family, that was a real slap in the face. Number 9. Salvatore Serrato. For 4 years, the owners of restaurants, coffee shops, cafes, and barbershops were suffering from an elusive avenger during the dark of night. He would leave his feces on their doorsteps. For 4 years, this kept happening in the same area, and nobody knew who was to blame. After a while, one of the business owners decided to get a surveillance camera to catch the perpetrator in the act. It turned out that the culprit was a 71-year-old millionaire named Salvatore Sam Serrato. After being caught, he said that he did this to hurt his rivals by scaring away potential clients with his poop. When you start pooping on doorsteps and you continue to do it for 4 years, that's a good sign that you are so rich that you're just getting bored. Number 10. Travers Bayon. Travers Bayon is a billionaire who has a rather unorthodox lifestyle. Most people don't agree with the things that he does with his money. He's known for hosting sex parties where he has intercourse with dozens of women each night. He's also known as the Candy Man, and he spends his days being fed grapes by countless half-naked women. He goes as far as putting leashes on these women and parading them around like animals. Of the 10 millionaires who do weird things, he is by far the weirdest. If you've ever seen his social media pages, you'd know that they should all be rated R, and some posts should be rated XXX. Subscribe for more.